Apple's biggest digital moneymaker, the App Store, has been in the spotlight and facing legal and regulatory challenges from its competitors. Our next guest has a new book out today. It's called I War: Fortnite, Elon Musk, Spotify, WeChat, and Laying Siege to Apple's Empire. And it warns that these court fights are a big distraction and that the tech giant could lose its edge in the AI era. Joining us right now is the author, Tim Higgins. He's the Wall Street Journal business columnist, also a CNBC contributor. And Tim, first of all, congratulations on the book.
Thank you.
We've been following from a distance all of these battles as they played out over the years, but you got up close and personal with all of this. How would you describe what's happening?
A great corporate drama, great global drama. It's an American story, right? Apple creates this incredibly successful world, a new world, the app economy, where $1 trillion a year is going through. New kingdoms are created within it, whether it's Spotify, Facebook, Epic Games, and then those new lords kind of rebel. They have a Boston Tea Party. They think Apple has too much power, takes too big of a tax, and they have the courage to kind of attack and go after Apple to try to bring down Apple's role as the gateway to the digital world.
It reminds me of so many things, but first of all, we should point out these aren't like a ragtag bunch of, young rebel fighters. They're all billionaires in their own right.
Absolutely.
And they were made billionaires because of what they were able to do on the App Store.
And that's what Apple would point out, that these people have been successful and they don't want to pay their fair share. These other companies would counter, Apple's taking too much. They don't get the right to have their hand in their pocket forever.
We had John Malone on the show about a week and a half ago, and he brought up this really interesting point, just back to net neutrality and what happened over the net neutrality laws, which basically said that all the upstarts got to use the cable companies and any of the networks that had been built for single freight, basically. You didn't have to pay extra for the amount of the network that you were using. And that was seen as the democratization of allowing these tiny companies to build up. Well, as a result, we got companies like Netflix that are then dominating the cable companies that provided the networks for them to go across through all that time. It feels like we're just always creating new big tech titans on the backs of the olds.
Absolutely. That's kind of the history of tech, right? And the situation that Apple finds itself in is probably similar to what Microsoft did a generation ago. And Bill Gates and others at Microsoft would say that they lost focus in those antitrust fights. They missed the mobile computing era. They were behind elsewhere. And it took them years and years to catch up, right? Now, clearly they did. But in the meantime, it was very painful, right? And that's the threat to Apple here.
Part of your thesis in this is that Apple created some of the problems themselves, that they went too hard charging into the legal battles, that they were not willing to go and maybe compromise or talk through with legislators in some of these issues. What happened?
Absolutely. Apple comes from the position that they are right. They feel they are right, and they're going to defend what they have created, that they have created something for the consumer that's pro-safety, pro-security, pro-user experience, and they want to fight hard for that. But beyond that, they also have had kind of a strategy over the years to kind of lean into the wind, get close to the wind as possible, get up to the line, if you will, without crossing it. One of the former top lawyers at Apple has talked about that strategy, saying it gives them a competitive edge when dealing with rivals, because some companies just don't have the money or the stomach or the ability to have these legal battles with Apple that can drag on for years and years. I mean, think about Epic Games, the creator of Fortnite. Tim Sweeney, the founder, has said that it cost his company more than $1 billion in lost sales and in legal fees to take on Apple and Google in this app economy war.
What we've seen with Microsoft, because I was thinking of old Microsoft versus new Microsoft post their own issues in dealing with the government, Microsoft has one of the most pro-Washington dealing strategies out there. They are always at Washington. They are always offering to do whatever it takes to get things done. Is that where you think Apple evolves from this?
It seems like that would be the likely strategy. But for Apple, the culture for so long has been to essentially kind of stay out of Washington, though that's not true in the last few years. Tim Cook is clearly at the White House. He has personal relationships that are very powerful. But it is not in the same way that Microsoft has kind of been playing the long game at all various governments around the world. Apple has a special relationship with the White House. They have Tim Cook, but they haven't been doing the same kind of thing that Microsoft has been doing.
What has Apple's reaction to the book been?
Well, Apple,
we reached out to them, and we have not heard back from them.
Apple feels as if they have been under attack by these companies that aren't paying their fair share.
Did you work with them at all on this book?
Everybody got a chance to fact check. Everybody got a chance to talk to me. And you can even see some of the quotes from Apple in here.
Okay, so what happens next? How does this play out? Because your bigger theory is that this is an AI dominance race at this point, and you wonder if they've lost their focus. Bill Gates famously had blamed their not being able to really have a cell phone that kept up with everybody else on the idea that he was distracted by all of these legal battles that he was enduring.
Right. Apple would say they're not distracted, of course. They would argue that they have AI, that they're working to make it a good user experience, and it takes time. But clearly investors are concerned that Apple is behind in AI. And even this week, we're seeing Mark Zuckerberg over at Meta. He's going to be showing the evolution of his vision for the new computer paradigm of how AI is going to be in our daily life with the glasses. And, you know, some people think that thick black glasses are pretty cool. And so maybe that is the way for AI. That's the bet in Silicon Valley, right? That a new device, whether that's a pen or a necklace, whatever, will displace the iPhone as we interact in this new digital world that AI is bringing.
What are the odds that that displacement comes from an open AI where they stole Johnny Ive?
It's the big bet right now, and a lot of people are thinking that's the way it's going to go.
Do you think that's the?
I think it's still too early to say. I mean, because, you know, when you listen to Tim Cook, he does not want to give up the primacy of the phone in your daily life.
Who would?
He still sees the ability to be on the screen as useful, and he's not going to go down without a fight, right? He's got a lot of money.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I have a hard time imagining what that could be, just myself as a user, but I'm not a visionary, so.
Right.
Yeah, we're stuck with where we are. Anyway, Tim, congratulations on the book. Again, it's called I War. It's out today, and it's good to see you.